"Hemi, Phelps," he said. No matter how many times Hemingway visited the morgue, it always seemed as if its walls off-gassed disinfectant and death. After a thorough cleanup that involved changing his lab coat and gloves, Marcus walked them to the far end of the lab where the Rochester boy was laid out. The boy was pale and bloodless. There was a cut on his eyebrow that Hemingway hadn't seen down by the water because it had been hidden by his hair. A white gash filled with pale pink flesh, like a third eye not yet formed. His mouth was slightly open, the almost white tip of his tongue protruding between perfect teeth. Tyler Rochester did not look like he was sleeping, or in a coma, or in God's arms. He looked like what he was, a dead child with no feet. The sheet was folded down, covering him from mid-chest to where his legs stopped at the nub ends of bone. Hemingway took up a position at the boy's side. Phelps, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, stood on the other side of the body. It was clear that no one wanted to be here. The job of examining the dead always held a certain intrinsic sadness, but seeing a child laying on the slab was tough for everyone, even Dr. Marcus, a man who had spent his career examining tragedy. Marcus indicated Tyler Rochester's left eye. It looked like a dried-out cocktail onion pushed into his socket with a little too much force. The boy had an anesthetic injected into his left eye. Downward trajectory. Right-handed. Barbiturate-grade anesthetic. It will take another week for the lab to match the compound, but I'd say something like thiopental. And at this point, there's no indication of an analgesic, so he would have felt what happened to him. Marcus dictated from memory, ignoring the notes on the trolley. How long would it take for something like that to take effect? Phelps's face was in work mode, an expressionless blend of angles. Marcus's head bobbed back and forth as he calculated. On a body mass like his, 25, maybe 30 seconds. Was he restrained? No bruising under his throat, so he wasn't held from behind. No ligature marks on his wrists or ankles, so he wasn't cuffed or strapped down. And the kid would have felt this? Phelps waved a hand over the space where the boy's feet should have been. Dr. Marcus nodded. Yes. Hemingway ran a hand through her hair. Have you figured out what he used to do this? It was a hacksaw. Hemingway took in a lungful of disinfectant-tainted air and tried to focus on the notes she was taking in her 3x5. You still think the killer lacks practical anatomical knowledge? Marcus nodded. Like I said at the river, both feet were taken off too far above the ankle. Anyone with practice would know that half an inch down, between the tibia and talar head, is a lot easier to saw through. It's mostly cartilage and tendon. And if you look here at the right ankle, you can see that he doesn't get the hang of the saw until an inch or so in. Hemingway looked up from her 3x5. She wanted to say that this didn't feel like the work of a first-timer, but kept it to herself. He jabbed the kid in the eye, waited for him to drop, then went to work on his right foot. Marcus nodded. The boy would have screamed, doubled over, holding his eye. As long as the killer left him alone for 30 seconds, he probably wouldn't have run. He'd have wasted the last half-minute of his life. The work was done on a smooth surface. The body was dumped in the water as soon as his feet were removed. There are some abrasions on the epidermal layer on the back of the ankles near the cut lines. The boy was dragged after his feet were taken off, dumped in the water while he was still alive. How long until he bled to death? Marcus shook his head. The anesthetic slowed his heart rate, ergo his pulse. He didn't die of exsanguination. He drowned. Hemingway looked down at the boy. He looked absolutely horrifying now. How hard would it be to get a 100-pound kid to a secluded spot by the river? An industrial lot? A bandominium grass yard? Go at sundown, inject him. After he's out, place him on a wooden door or old tabletop. Maybe a sheet of plywood. Saw his feet off. 4 minutes goes fast, unless you're the one being sawed up. She stared down at the body for a few beats of her heart as the flow chart slowly came together.